My girlfriend kissed another guy in front of me at a party just for a dare. So, I gave her the humiliation of her life. Hello everyone, my name is Richard. I'm 23 years old, and I want to tell you something that happened to me a few months ago. I never thought I'd write something like this. But ever since it happened, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. Maybe telling it here will help me let go of some of what I've been carrying. I met Mia, also 23, at university. We both studied in the same faculty, but in different majors. From the first day we spoke, she seemed charismatic, full of energy, with an enormous ability to make friends. I was the complete opposite, reserved, quieter, and one of those who prefers to observe rather than participate. Even so, there was something about her that captivated me. She had a contagious smile, and that way of speaking with enthusiasm that made it seem like everything she said mattered. We started going out slowly. At first, we were just classmates who ran into each other in the cafeteria or the hallways. Later, we started studying together, and over time it became a habit to see each other almost every day. Mia had a very wide circle of friends. She was always invited to parties, gatherings, short trips, or simple coffee afternoons. I, on the other hand, had few friends, but the ones I had were close. When we started dating, I noticed she wanted me to integrate more into her group, and even though it wasn't my thing, I tried for her. The first time I went to one of her parties, I felt out of place. It was a house full of people talking at the same time. Loud music, colored lights, and that smell of alcohol that permeated everything. Mia took my hand and introduced me to some of her friends. They all seemed nice, but I also noticed something. Most of them had that typical closed group attitude where if you're not like them, they look at you with a certain distance. Even so, I wanted to fit in. I didn't want Mia to think I wasn't making an effort. Over time, I started going to those gatherings more often. Mia would get excited every time I agreed to go with her. "It's going to be chill love," she would tell me. And even though that was almost never true, I believed her. At those parties, they always played truth or dare. At first, it was simple things like telling secrets or playing silly jokes, but then the dares became more extreme, almost always related to drinking. Whoever lost had to drink until they almost couldn't anymore. I remember one occasion, Mia had to take several shots in a row, and ended up so dizzy she could barely stand. I got worried. I asked her to stop, that it wasn't necessary to keep playing, but her friends laughed and told her it was just fun. She looked at me and smiled, trying to brush it off. "Relax, love. I'm fine," she told me that time. She wasn't. I had to practically carry her home, and the next day she thanked me for taking care of her. Even so, the very next weekend, she accepted another invitation. I tried to understand her. I knew in part that Mia was one of those people who can't stand being left out of the group. She wanted to be part of everything, to feel included, to be accepted. But I also saw that her friends weren't exactly good to her. They often made comments about her clothes, or told her in a mocking tone that she was becoming boring since she got a boyfriend. I noticed that it affected her. She didn't say it openly, but her expression would change every time they treated her like that. One night after another party, I told her I didn't like how they treated her. "Mia, I don't understand why you stick with them. They always make fun of you. They make you do dares that leave you in a bad state, and you just laugh," I said. She sighed, and gave me an answer I still remember clearly. "They've been my friends for years. They're not bad. They just have a different way of being. Sometimes they go too far, yes. But in the end, they're always there." I didn't say anything else, but inside, I knew it wasn't true. I felt she was doing all this just to fit in, to not be left alone. And although I didn't agree, I didn't want to be the controlling boyfriend who tells her who she can or can't hang out with. So, I stayed on the sidelines until everything spun out of control. One Friday night, Mia invited me to another party. It was the birthday of one of her closest friends, Clara. I didn't want to go, but she insisted so much that I ended up agreeing. "I promise it'll be chill. Just a few friends and music," she told me. Obviously, it wasn't like that. The house was full, the music was extremely loud, and you could smell the alcohol from the entrance. As soon as we arrived, Mia was received with shouts and hugs. "Mia's finally here. You're late. I thought you weren't coming." Everyone seemed happy to see her, and immediately put a glass in her hand. I stayed to the side, greeting with a nod, and trying to go unnoticed. She introduced me to some new faces, but most didn't even take the time to remember my name. For the first few hours, I stayed seated on a couch, observing. Mia would come and go, dance, laugh with her friends, and every so often, she'd come back to sit next to me and give me a quick kiss, as if to make sure I wasn't upset. I tried to smile, but I felt uncomfortable. I didn't like that environment. Later, they started the famous game of Truth or Dare. I knew that never ended well. I tried to convince Mia not to participate. Love, what if we just watch? You don't have to play this time, I said. But she just laughed. It'll be fun. I promise nothing bad will happen. I stayed seated by her side as the group formed a circle. There were about 10 people. The bottle started spinning, and the questions began to escalate. First, it was simple things like confessing who they'd had a crush on, or telling an embarrassing anecdote. Then, the dares began. Drinking, taking off clothes, kissing someone on the cheek. The whole atmosphere filled with shouts and laughter. I didn't participate, and that seemed to bother some of them. One of the guys, the kind who always seeks attention, said to me in a mocking tone, "Richard, why so serious? Relax a little, brother. You're not in church." The laughter soon followed. Mia laughed too, although I know she did it more to play along with them than out of real amusement. Still, that hurt me. The game continued, and with each round, the dares became more intense. It was Mia's turn several times to drink more than she should have. I asked her to stop, but her friends encouraged her to continue. "Come on, Mia. Don't be boring. You used to be the most fun one in the group." She would smile, even though you could tell she was struggling to stay on her feet. At one point, one of the girls, I don't remember who, made a comment about us. "So, are you two still as in love as ever? Or are you already bored of your serious boyfriend?" The laughter was immediate. I tried not to react, but I felt shame rising up inside me. Mia just shrugged and replied with a forced smile, "Everything's fine. It's just that he's not much for parties." Another girl said loudly, "Yeah, you can tell. He looks like he was forced to come." More laughter, and me again, staying silent. I wanted to leave, but Mia asked me to wait a little longer. "We're almost done with the game. Don't go, please." I gave him one more time, even though I was already tired of it inside. That's when they proposed the final dare. Clara, the birthday girl, said it would be the bravest of the night. Everyone shouted excitedly. "Okay, what is it?" Mia asked, her face already a bit red from the alcohol. Clara smiled and said, "The final dare is for you, Mia, and it's very simple. You have to kiss a random guy here in front of everyone." The silence lasted a second. Then came shouts of surprise and laughter. Mia looked at them confused and then looked at me. "What? No, that doesn't make sense. I'm with Richard," she said, trying to laugh it off as a joke. But her friends insisted. "It's just a game. It's no big deal. Besides, he'll understand, right, Richard?" They looked at me, waiting for an answer. And I could only say, "If you value our relationship, Mia, don't do it." She stared at me for a few seconds. I could see the conflict on her face. She had the bottle in one hand and her glass in the other. Everyone was looking at her, laughing, pressuring her, as if it were some kind of spectacle. "Come on, Mia. It's just a kiss. It's not the end of the world," someone said from behind. And then it happened. She did it. She walked over to some random guy from the group, took him by the neck, and kissed him. It wasn't a quick or joking kiss. It was long with everyone screaming around them. And before she did it, she looked at me for just 1 second, as if she were looking for my permission, as if deep down she wanted me to stop her. I didn't. I stayed still, my heart racing, watching as the person I loved kissed someone else right in front of me just for a dare. And in that moment, something inside me broke. When Mia separated from the guy, the place erupted in laughter. It wasn't laughter of amusement. It was cruel laughter, the kind that sticks in you. Everyone was applauding, shouting, and making comments between cackles. Some were recording with their phones, others simply watched, enjoying the spectacle. And I was there motionless, feeling how every laugh echoed in my head. It wasn't just the kiss that hurt. It was the humiliation. The fact that she did it in front of me, knowing what it meant. The fact that everyone was mocking, as if watching someone break inside was entertaining. I felt a mixture of rage, shame, and sadness rising in my chest until I was choking. One of Mia's friends, a guy I barely knew, but who always tried to be the funny one in the group, approached laughing, and said loudly, "Bro, I have never seen the face of a cuckold at the exact instant his heart breaks." The laughter increased. I stared at him saying nothing. Inside, I just thought, what the hell am I doing here? Mia turned to me and said, still with a nervous smile, "It was just a joke. Love, I hope you're not uncomfortable." That sentence pierced me. I hope you're not uncomfortable. After kissing another guy in front of everyone. Before I could answer, one of the girls in the group picked up an empty beer bottle. She held it like a microphone and said between laughs, "Now we will have an exclusive interview with the cuckold of the year. Richard, what is your opinion on what just happened?" The laughter grew louder. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was as if everyone had suddenly turned into a single monster. One that fed on my shame. The noise, the laughter, the shouts, it all blurred together. I tried to say something, but my voice wouldn't come out. Then I heard another guy say, "Oh no, he's going to cry now. Relax, it's just a joke, man." The tone was so condescending that I felt a knot in my stomach. I couldn't take it anymore. I got up from the sofa, turned around, and started walking toward the exit. Mia came after me. "Love, wait!" she shouted at me between nervous laughs. "Don't take it so personally. It was just a stupid dare." The people behind her kept laughing. I heard someone yell, "Crybaby!" and then another, "What a sissy!" She looked back, and to my surprise, she laughed too. "They're right," she said. "Don't be such a baby, huh?" In that moment, something inside me shattered completely. I looked at her with a mixture of sadness and repulsion. I no longer saw the same person I met at university. What was in front of me was someone completely different, an empty version of herself. I told her, my voice trembling but firm, "You're pathetic, Mia. Can't you see it? You're their clown. They are not your friends. To them, you're just a jester. A girl with low self-esteem. Desperate for attention. You disgust me." The group made that typical sound. That collective goo they make when something harsh is said. Someone behind muttered, "Huh?" He told her her truths. Now Mia is the one who's going to cry. But no one laughed as hard this time. For an instant, the atmosphere changed. I took a deep breath. I looked at all those faces that, until recently, called themselves her friends. I saw more empty voids than people. I told them loudly with contained rage, "And you are all pathetic too. Do something with your lives. You spend your time getting drunk and thinking that makes you interesting." The same guy who had called me a cuckold earlier said with a cynical smile, "Calm down, philosopher. Don't get so intense." I looked at him fixedly. It was Lucas, the typical guy who boasts about being the life of the party, but everyone knew he had problems at home. And then, without thinking, I let slip something I knew would hurt. "Tell me, Lucas, do you use alcohol to forget that your mom is a drug addict, or to forget that your dad abandoned you?" The silence was immediate. No one said a word. The laughter died, as if someone had suddenly turned down the volume. Lucas stayed still for a few seconds, processing what he had just heard. His face changed. He shot up, staggering, and came straight at me with his fist raised. He tried to hit me, but I dodged. It wasn't difficult. He was so drunk he could barely keep his balance. He fell against a chair and spilled a bottle. Someone shouted his name. Others tried to stop him. I just took advantage of the moment to turn around and get out of that house. I walked down the street without looking back. I felt my heart beating hard. I didn't know if I was trembling from rage, pain, or disappointment. I just wanted to get away from all of that. I heard footsteps behind me. It was Mia. She came running. Her voice choked. "Richard, wait. Don't go like this!" she yelled. I stopped. Not for her, but because I needed to end everything right there, leaving nothing unresolved. She approached with her makeup running and her eyes red, though I didn't know if it was from the alcohol or from what had just happened. "Richard, I swear I didn't want it to turn out like this. It was a game, that's all. It doesn't mean anything." I looked at her, exhausted. I had no anger left. Just a kind of emptiness. Mia, I told her calmly. I dare you to get yourself a personality, and buy yourself an ounce of dignity. She looked at me confused, not knowing what to say. We're done, I said finally in a firm voice, and kept walking. She didn't follow me again. That night, I got to my apartment and just sat in the dark. I didn't turn on the light. I didn't cry either. I just stared into space, with my head full of images of what had happened. The laughter of her friends. The way she looked at me before kissing him. The words she said afterward. Trying to minimize everything. I couldn't understand at what point everything had fallen apart. Yes, I thought about the times I went with her to those parties, just to make her happy. About how I tried to adapt to her world. About the times I stayed silent when I saw her getting lost among people who only used her to laugh at. And still there I was, torn to pieces, while they were probably still drinking as if nothing had happened. That night, I understood something. Not everyone who smiles with you is your friend. And not all people who say they love you know what that word means. Mia wasn't a bad person from the beginning. She simply got lost. She surrounded herself with people who molded her until she became an empty version of herself. And I, in my attempt to adapt, ended up getting lost, too. Days later, I found out the story had become a rumor among several classmates at the university. Someone had recorded part of the kiss and the confrontation with Lucas. I didn't care. None of it made sense anymore. I didn't want revenge or explanations or apologies. I just wanted peace. I never spoke to Mia again. I found out through mutual friends that she tried to contact me weeks later, but I didn't respond. She had crossed a line that can't be undone with a sorry. Respect, when it's broken in that way, cannot be recovered. With time, I understood that it wasn't the kiss that hurt the most. What hurt the most was that she laughed along with them while everyone humiliated me. That she preferred to look good in front of a group of empty people, rather than defend what we had. That's what really broke me. Sometimes I see her in the university hallways. She avoids looking at me, and I do the same. But on one occasion, our eyes met for an instant, and I knew she understood everything. I knew she had finally realized what I tried to tell her that night. That those she called friends only laughed at her when she wasn't around. I saw a mixture of shame and regret on her face. And for the first time, I didn't feel resentment, only compassion. I've thought a lot about what happened. And if I got anything out of all this, it's that you cannot sacrifice your dignity to fit in, nor change your essence to please others. I did it. And I ended up watching someone I love destroy herself, trying to please everyone else. Sometimes growing up also means learning to let go. And although it hurt, that night marked the beginning of something different. For me, because I understood that loneliness isn't always a punishment. Sometimes it's the first step to recovering what others tried to take from you, your peace, your value, and your self-respect. So, if anyone ever tells you that something was just a joke, remember that real jokes don't destroy anyone. That was the last time I let someone laugh at the expense of my heart.